Well, hello, dear BULLAHS. It looks like today we have something to be looking at in your favor.
Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. I am feeling a metric shit ton better as I stare down in camera number one back again. Hello, people of camera number one. I am feeling a lot better from yesterday. It is a massive relief as yesterday was pretty fucking painful, to be honest with you. But all is well and good, so we will be doing Twitch later today. And a massive announcement that I completely forgot to talk about. I think this happened like maybe last week probably. But for the people in the TA program, you may have already noticed, but if you have not, now you should notice that there is another bonus module ready for you right after the original risk management module that is titled aptly risk management nuances and evolution, which is going to go into, well, of course, nuanced situations with regards to risk management. I've been feeling a lot of questions on that subject for the last few months, so that's going to address that. And yeah, go take advantage of it. Very nuanced topics there, but that's really what makes the program. That also makes me realize that all programs are on sale for 20% off. No code is needed at crowntrading.net, which is in the links below. With regards to that, please make sure to watch the videos to make sure that they are applicable to you. I won't go through the full explanation of it right now because I've been doing this. It just gets more and more awkward the more often that you do it, of course. But the big considerations, as always, from my side is that I want to make sure that people get the most value out of it. And to get the most value out of it, you need essentially two things. You need just a normal human body with a brain, but no, I'm assuming that most people have that who have access to a YouTube connection over here, but more importantly, time commitment is the big one, because these are long programs, especially the TA program, the options program, 30 to 40 hours plus long. The neophytes program a little bit shorter than that, about 10 hours long, but still what you put into it is what you're going to get out. And of course, when it comes to trading, this isn't fucking easy, so it's going to require a lot of effort on your part, in addition to the actual information. What's the other thing that I wanted to mention? Yeah, let's start off with the Krown Trading app right here, right in front of our faces once again. Open interest is remaining more or less flat as Bitcoin has been rising up, so it is still a cautionary area, and that will be in the back of our mind's eye for the analysis to come. But with yesterday closing all of the higher term timeframes, we have a lot to talk about, and I do think that there are some very interesting things going on to follow up on yesterday's video as well, which we actually did kind of hit some of the upside objectives for that, but now that kind of brings into context the next evolution of that. So with regards to that, I feel like I say that too often, so please do feel free to call me out on it. Also call me out on my bald spot in the back, because it makes me feel absolutely great. Anyways, Bitcoin dominance more or less steady here, more or less flat. Haven't really seen too much from that. Hey, stop that running over there. I am recording and my microphone's working as well. Get that out of the way early with 3 minutes in. Holy shit, that was great. And fear and greed index more or less flat as well in the low teens, and everything else looking stock standard here. So let's go into the Bitcoin charts, and I want to start off with the 3-day little time frame right here, which is incredibly important to me, as the 3-day does seem to get a lot of things right, especially from a major moving average perspective. I want to put the focus on the blue 3/7 exponential moving average right here. I don't talk about this one too often. It's very important to me in traditional markets. In Bitcoin land, I do believe that it has long-term significance, although a lot of people like to use moving averages like some sort of magical, mystical, just, it has to bounce here or has to go here. No, that's not it. It's telling you about an average of price action over time, which gives you insight into momentum and direction and trend. There it is. It's no more complicated than that, really. Anyways, going back throughout the history of Bitcoin, let's go to the BLX index. We do see that the blue 3/7 exponential moving average typically does get the long-term right. And what I mean by that is that anytime that we are below it, we are kind of at the ends of an accumulation phase before getting ready for a nice liftoff. And whenever we're above it, it's generally, all roses and rainbows and sunshine, I guess is the saying. We have a great example back on over here in 2014, 2015, one more recently in 2018 to 2019 right here. And then we actually went below it more recently in March of 2020 this year as well. And as of yesterday, we actually did confirm back above it again for the first time since quite literally, the beginning of the month. And what that signifies to me is that we're likely going to test somewhere around us, especially the 10 simple. But we've pretty much already gotten there at low 7,000. I do think that Bitcoin's going to get a push into there. But I do believe that the roadway into the mid 7,000s is now open as well, as the 21 exponential moving average is currently hovering around about 7650-ish region, alongside the 200 exponential moving average. And I do think that is going to be a little bit of an interesting area, also from a volume profile standpoint, as you do see, if we zoom in a little bit, let's actually go in a little bit more like here, and let's go down to a lower term time frame so we get better bird's eye view on this. And we do see that, yes, there are some higher value nodes within these regions, not just the lower 7,000s, like 72 to 7,300, which is going to tie in a little bit later, but also the point of control for the last quarter of price action, essentially coming in at upper 7,000-ish region. So actually 7,900-ish region. So I do like both of those areas, and I would like to keep them in the back of my mind's eye if Bitcoin does take this next leg up. We also did close the daily dildo above the 21 exponential moving average yesterday for the first time quite literally since back on over here in February, more than a month ago. And realistically, this wasn't even really a close above, because we got a close above, of course, but there was no opens and closes above. That came about another month before that, at the beginning or late January, essentially, back on over here. So it does look to me like Bitcoin probably is going to make another foray attempt into the $7,000 region, and we do see momentum also just following through on this as well on the higher term timeframes. Daily Stokes are fresh out of the bearish control zone, so I do like that, and we do see that daily RSI is out of the bearish control zone as well. Although problem with this is that we probably are going to be making some hidden bearish divergence, and as long as we're below about $8,000, that's going to be pretty much present. And of course, from a higher time frame perspective as well, from a moving average perspective as well, we are still bearish here too, as we do see the death cross on the daily, and all major moving averages are having a negative slope. But because Bitcoin operates in large numbers, and because it's an incredibly volatile asset, really is what it comes down to. We can fill out these ranges quite a bit and not really do anything significant from the higher time frame perspective. So it is looking to me like we are going to see that extension to the upside that we spoke about yesterday. Remember yesterday we were looking for a 4-hour dildo closure above this last prior swing high at about 6,650 to 6,700. We got that yesterday, and so far so good, consolidating at a high level right over here, as all the major moving averages on the lower term time frame start to switch around to bullish posturings, which I do like. So I do think that we're likely to make an attempt to around 7250 to 7350-ish region, as we spoke about yesterday. That was consistent with, I believe, the falling channel on the low term timeframes right here. I think this had to be done on like a 2-hour maybe measure move to the upside. I remember that this was a measure move right here, and it's actually a little bit it's within the range. It's right around 7200-ish region. So I do like that area. It doesn't need to be exact, and flagging out at a high level right here is more or less healthy, I do think, for the short term. Now we're gonna come back to this a little bit later, and I'm gonna speak about why I do think Bitcoin perhaps has some upside here. I am actually gonna be looking at the next potential top as a major opportunity. Well, that kind of gives it away, I suppose, but we'll get into that a little bit later, and we kind of already spoke about it yesterday. In fact, the big insight into that would be this massive rising channel that we're still working on right in over here, which, by the way, the topside resistance of this comes in the 73 to 7400-ish region. So we'll actually mark it off right here, because I do want to have that area in visual sight between 7250 and 7350 is where I'd really be looking towards, and I'd consider that a topside test of that rising channel. Technically bear flag, although I wouldn't necessarily call this a bear flag any longer, especially if we work our way back into the $7,000 region. Now, by the same token, while I am a little bit more optimistic on price action in the lower term timeframes, I should talk about areas that would invalidate this analysis, and that is pretty much the same as actually yesterday, right around 6,400-ish region. As long as Bitcoin's remaining above 6,400, I don't really see any real major threat of a fake out to the upside and then resulting in some downside more sooner rather than later. However, if Bitcoin does break below 6,400, I would look for price action to reach all the way back down towards this blue box that we spoke about yesterday, a little bit below 6,000, between let's just call it 5,900-ish region, basically in a range between 5,850 and 5,950-ish region. But But for right now, less important because I do think that consolidating at this high level right here is likely to get some continuation. Looking at momentum oscillators for our lower term timeframes, they are more or less hot here, coming in from a pretty high angle. Usually when 4-hour stocks get this high, they don't like to stay up there for that long, but they certainly can, especially if we have a little bit of a prolonged short squeeze here, which is what I think is happening, or really maybe not even short squeezing, because there's not really any positions on the board. Again, looking at the open interest right here, mostly shorts closing. So what I'm looking for is if open interest continues to remain flat or go down as Bitcoin moves up into the $7,000 region, I will look at that as a majorly bearish sign going forwards from there. And I probably will be looking for sells, although, that's, this is not finished advisor, not finished advisor, and that's subject to change depending upon what happens at that point in time. However, if open interest does shoot to the fucking moon and we get back above $7,000, especially like $7,300, then I would look for extension probably into the deep 7,000s, like 78 to 7,900-ish region, and then we could perhaps talk about a reversal. Although we'll get onto the topic of a market cycle reversal a little bit later, and just to kind of spoil that one, I don't really think that we've seen it. It's kind of the same thing as the stock market right now. I think we're in for a little bit of a prolonged bounce here. Looks like they're both in unison as well. And yes, people, the fucking what's it called? The correlations people are gonna absolutely hate this because SPY was up like 10% or 10% yesterday, but Bitcoin 0%. How could this be? Where's my hedge? Motherfucker. Anyways, they operate on a higher time frame schedule together, is what it looks like to me. And with Bitcoin putting in a nice low right here, I think SPY is doing the same thing. We'll get to that later, of course, but for right now, I would like to say that if we do get another 4-hour total closure, basically above our last little local high right here at about 67.50-ish region. Where do we close exactly? 67.66 and spot 64. I would look for that. I would look for that extension here towards about 72 to 73. We'll call it. Just easier to say on the English tongue. Anyways, I'm going to get rid of this order block down here, or sorry, liquid zone down there, because it's while it is relevant, it's just not so relevant to what we're doing over here. And I'm going to get rid of this one as well. We'll draw them back in when the time does come. And of course, we'll leave this measure move in here for now. But as it stands, it does look to me like Bitcoin probably is likely to make that next stab higher, like we said yesterday, if Bitcoin did close on new 4-hour highs, which we did get. Other than that, I want to go back on over here to the 12-hour time frame, which 12-hour Stokes are pointed north, nice and north once again. We're also going to be breaking. Well, we're not even going to be breaking it. It wasn't even really in there to begin with, but fair enough. It looks like continuation to me. 12-hour Jewel also giving you basically a hodl your long signal here for the time being, and that could do some damage. 12-hour signals do typically hold quite a bit of weight. Although we never really got a perfect signal on the low. The 4-hour did, although it didn't get the exact low. Got a little bit after it, but close enough is close enough. And saying that we likely have a little bit of more of more upside here, again with the caveat, with the major caveat that Bitcoin essentially doesn't violate about 6,400 to the downside. Now let's fit this in with the 3-day analysis once again, because I do want to go back on over here. That 6,400-ish number is where it's right around the 377 exponential average, which we did close above yesterday, and you could basically say that we've already kind of come back down and tested it. Doesn't need to be exactly on it. Like, people have made moving averages into such a fucking meme, and it really grinds my gears, really rustles my gym jams, motherfucker. Jesus Christ. Anyways, it does look to me like we're kind of, we've already kind of come back down, retested it, and popped off it. And I do think that Bitcoin's likely going to get another push higher. And from a momentum oscillator perspective as well, things are looking more or less okay. We do see that 3-day Stokes are pointed very aggressively to the north side, and we also did test this trend line over here, which I don't remember if I spoke about yesterday, but I have been spoken about in the past, of course, because, well, where else was it fucking come from? But more importantly, this trend line is very important for Bitcoin long term. Why, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, as I had some conversation with myself. Jesus Christ, man, I'm schizophrenic. This trend line is actually born off of our lows in December 2018 at 3,100. That was when Bitcoin was down around here, right? Then connected with our lows back on over here more recently in this low right here in December 2019. before this $4,000 rally, and then more recently this low right here that we do see. So I do like this area, at least for a short-term bounce, and it does keep the hopium alive that Bitcoin is maybe doing something like this on the macro scale. This would be like the major bullish hopium, is that Bitcoin's making one massive symmetrical triangle since the highs at 20,000 and the lows at 31,000 right here. And so far, to be fair, we are holding it. We are rallying off it. I am skeptical with it. I am skeptical that we've actually seen the low in Bitcoin thus far. Even if we haven't seen the low thus far in Bitcoin land, I do think that it is very possible that we will come back down and test into the mid to low 5,000s, in the coming months. But for right now, short term at the very least, I do think that Bitcoin probably has some upside here. And here's also the thing: if Bitcoin can take out the last weekly high, which Stamp is going to be the outlier here. Maybe we can go to GDAX. It should be around 6950 to 7,000 at most for most exchanges. And that's consistent among Finex, GDAX, and Mexico. Then yeah, we do see 6,950 to 7,000 bucks. If we take out last week's high, I do think that extending this move into the 7,300-ish region is extremely likely, and we can keep the conversation open for extension a little bit higher, depending upon how this weekly closes. Now, I think it's a little bit too early to speak about how this weekly is going to close when we're literally on Wednesday. I think it is. Is it Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday. It's the 25th, but what day is that even? It's Wednesday. All right, it means nothing because shit doesn't sleep anyways, but whatever. But for the weekly close, it's still a little bit too far away to really care that much about right now. But while we are on these higher time frames, let's go over here to the 2-day. The 2-day close I also like as well. I think we saw this one yesterday, and to me the 2-day close is telling us that even if we did hit that initial downside, going back on over, or sorry, no, not going back on over, but if we did hit the initial trigger for the downside, which I believe was 6,400, as I said earlier, it's the same thing as yesterday actually. I do believe that we would see all the way back down to about 6,200, and probably try to play out another. Well, no, I stick with what I said earlier. No, if we break that area, we'll very likely see back down right below 6,000. But I do believe that it would bounce it on the first pass. The thing is, though, is that while the 2-day is looking good for short-term continuation to the upside, momentum loss orders very very erect right there, and RSI looking okay. It probably does pull back a little bit here, or soonish here. The problem with this is, from a longer term perspective, which is the value of moving averages, is that, well, what's going on? We do have a death cross that is more or less inevitable. Okay, I should not say inevitable, because there's been a lot of times where I say something like that and then I say there's a caveat with this. Unless if Bitcoin pops up to 7,900, we will get the death cross on the next tick. The next 2 ticks at the very most, the next tick at the very least, of course. And I think that we get the next one tonight. No, we don't. Okay, sorry, tomorrow. So tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I believe it is. So here's the thing: we do have the death cross pending, and what we're getting on price action right now, as price action again floats up in the context of a rising channel, which we are in the context of a rising channel, especially as long as we're below 7,400, and open interest has still remained flat and actually gone a little bit down. Volume, you can see here, is on the steady decline, and volatility has been on the steady contraction as well. Especially if we go to our lower term time frame, it's been steadily contracting ever since the low at 4,200 it was put in, or upper 3,000s, depending upon which exchange that you look at. Yeah, back on over here, the 13th of March, essentially. All of these things have been steadily contracting. Does make me very apprehensive to call a full-on reversal for this, and probably does get distributed on as we get the death cross and test up to our next major moving average, which it looks like to me the 21 exponential moving average probably does get tested here. Where is the 21 on the 2-day? Oh, that's fucking right around 7,300-ish region. So here's the thing. And here's what I kind of wrap up this thought with. I am bearishly biased, essentially, in this coming back down below 6,000 again. As long as Bitcoin is below 7,300, we'll call it the 21 exponential moving average on the daily, on the 2-day. which isn't even going to be resolved today. It's going to be resolved tomorrow, like I said. And that also brings up the counterpoint that if we do close above the 21 tomorrow at 7,300, we very likely will see a move not just up to the upper 7,000s relatively fast, but I think that would be a fake out on a 2-day dildo death cross, which means that we're not just going to pop back up on over here to 8,000. We'll actually pop all the way back up significant, like around this last prior high right here. It'll be quite the rally. Now, I don't think that that's what's happening right here, but hey, you know, always have to talk about those sorts of areas because my opinion is like always wrong. And for anyone who's been on this, for anyone who's been on this channel for any amount of time, you see me be wrong like phenomenal amount of times. But that's why I talk about technical analysis and then my opinion and separate those two definitively, because I do not trade my opinion. I trade technical analysis. And we can look at probabilities, come up with a better opinion based on, you know, maths and statistics. But at the end of the day, still have to, you know, come up with a trading plan, which is going to encompass all those different things and is going to be based off of, well, just straight up TA, I suppose, as opinion is not needed in order to make money in this market or any market for that matter. Anyways, okay, cool. So I think I got all those thoughts out properly. Let's go back down to the lower term timeframes. I do want to come up with some more clearly delineated areas of price action where I will revert to being a lot more bearish sooner rather than later. And I think the most obvious area is just going to be below this like 5850 pivot that we saw a couple days ago on the 23rd of March. That's the obvious one. So again, 6,400, if Bitcoin just ticks below 6,400 again, I do believe that we would see another test back down to like 5950-ish region, probably a small bounce there, and then curl back on over, and we'll see Bitcoin come down to the low 5,000s. But as long as that doesn't happen, I am looking for continuation of the upside. And for full disclosure, I actually do have a very, 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 very small long on right now, based upon my analysis yesterday, long in this area right and over here, and currently have a stop and profit, which I am more or less happy to let ride for right now, but don't want to get too aggressive with, as I really don't like trading to the long side, to the upside in this environment currently. Anyways, while we are here on the 4 hour as well, it is worth mentioning that the 200 exponential moving average is coming in right around 7250-ish region, so I do like that area as well. I think it's also very much worth mentioning that all of the lower term timeframes, historical volatility percentile, are signaling that we are going to see a move, like a nice move, like a decent sized move, sooner rather than later. I do think that it comes, in the next few days, very, very likely within the next 3 days. But again, that's opinion, and I want to divorce the opinion from analysis. But hourly historical volatility percentile literally got to, fucking snake eyes down here, basically at a one read. So it is set to expand, and I think that that's going to be just carried on by the 2 hour, which yes, we do see. The 3 hour should be in that range as well. Yes, indeed, it's been steadily contracting as well. So I do think that we are due for a nice move relatively soon, probably before week's end. Again, opinion shouldn't be necessary for that. So now that we have these areas, and let's also talk about the low time frame, or I think I already did mention this, but the low time frame next sort of pivot to the upside. Even just taking out 68, 66, this last prior spike on yesterday's price action, probably does it for me for that next continuation up here to the blue box. But of course, a 4 hour dildo closure or even a 2 hour dildo closure above, like, let's call it 6,800 probably is going to do it as well. So obviously, the probability is going to be massively on the same side of that. But what I want to curtail this back into as we go and get ready to look at the probability charts is the 6,400 level. That's important for short-term downside back into this region. And technically, this area, basically just the way that I'm looking at it is like 68, 66 region for another $300, $400 continuation of the upside right here. And then I want to look at the probabilities for breaking this range at 73, because that drives the higher term time frame bias on the 2-day. And we could also look at this one down around here at around 5,900 as well, because that's going to essentially resolve this rising channel to the downside. So let's go on over here to our probability chart, and let's start it off with the daily. The daily, we can already eyeball this one out, as we do see that the top side of the first deviation is actually well within reason, as we do see it's quite literally at 7550-ish region. Jesus Christ, man, that is powerful. I do want to see what the so that would be. It's very obviously that the probability is going to be on the upside here, but let's just say that it's 6850-ish region. What's our probability of initiating that tagging that area before end of day here. Wait, there it is. There it is. I thought that those might be too low. It's 47% as it is right now. And there you go. Bitcoin's rounding up above 6,800. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. Very, very likely. And I do think that we are going to see that continuation. Let's go over here to the 12-hour, as this one also is phenomenally useful recently too. And we see the top side of the first deviation coming in right around that 7,300-ish number, a little bit above there, but that's okay. And so that kind of tells me that, if Bitcoin does head around there, and there's the girthy green dildos. Fucking yes. So let me make sure that I'm still in my long position. Yeah, I am. Okay, cool. That's great. That's awesome. Great, awesome, good. Keep me updated on continued progress, bro. Okay, so yes, I'm curious what the probability of getting to like 7,250 is today. Or sorry, in this next 12 hours worth of price action, which is actually calculating only 3 hours away, going to be pretty damn high though. Going to be 23.5%. So actually pretty good for literally a $500 move from where we are right now, or sorry, $450. But pretty damn nice regardless. Okay, cool, great. Let's talk about the downside as well. The 6,400-ish number for the short term. That's the area that I'd be looking at there. I mean, we can kind of eyeball it in. You can already see, and that would actually be a little bit over 24%. So it is within the realm of possibility, yes. But with momentum also is pointed to the north side here, I think that that's more likely to happen right now, unless we just get like some massive swing failure pattern. Like if you see a spike up to 7,000 and then close the dildo below 6,750, that would be an obvious swing failure pattern, but not for right now. Let's see what this would also be on the day's worth of price action. A little bit more, around 30%, so still within the realm of possibility. However, I think that. Well, I mean, can't really argue with that, I guess. But let's go over and check out what the probabilities of the next major area to the downside are, is 5,900. And on the daily, we can see that that's going to be around, actually even below the bottom side of the first deviation. So very unlikely today, less than 16% chance, just doing some mental math there. In fact, if we look at the probability panel, it would say about 9%-ish. This floating around as price action moves around. We can go to 12 hours as well and see what the next 3 hours or so is going to show. Yeah, less than 5% here. So I do think that that's obviously the more important one for the medium term timeframes, is that would initiate a move back down to the low 5,000s, like 5,100-ish region. So for right now, again, I do think that Bitcoin's getting some more continuation to the upside. We're going to be likely testing around this region right here and then come back, of course. Can always be wrong on this, but it's going to be pretty obvious now if I'm going to be wrong on this, because Bitcoin is going to have like a spike up here and then close this 4-hour dildo below. Again, like 6,700 would be obvious, or even 6,750. If it did one of those two things, then yes, I would look at this as as a fake out, and we'll move back down to 6,400 very, very quickly. Small bounce there, and then continuation down here, but it's not really looking very likely right now. Other than that, we're already 30 minutes into this video. How the fuck is that even possible? Let's go check out traditional markets, and traditional markets doing the same sort of thing. Same sort of thing, just about a week later, and carrying out what I think is going to be the first major bounce. We did obviously test the top side of our blue box to the downside right here at about how far did we get down? Yeah, about 220-ish region, a little bit lower than that overall. And I do think that traditional markets are essentially getting ready for a more long-term bounce, maybe not long-term, but medium-term bounce here, just in the same way that Bitcoin is. And I would extend these targets into the 265 region over here if this weekly does close above 235, which I think is going to be pretty damn likely. In fact, we can look at the probabilities of that. Although can't really see the weekly close unless I go, we'll do that tomorrow. It'll be more relevant there. But more or less, I'm looking at this as a short-term, medium-term bottom for traditional markets, just like I'm looking at it for Bitcoin. Short-term, medium-term bottom. We're gonna play out some upside after that. Probably work our way back around here sometime in the next couple weeks, and then from there come back and reassess. But as it is right now, technically speaking, SPY still has not even confirmed a reversal on an hourly here, but it's damn close. And if we could just confirm an hourly dildo close above 245.25, or just even tick above what's a high of this 247.36, I do think that we're going to initiate that next move up to the mid 250s, like 254, 255-ish region, and then that's going to lead up for next week to take that leap up into the into the what's a fucking word that I'm looking for, into the 265-ish region. So we're seeing the markets operate in unison as far as major pivots go, and as far as the higher timeframes go. Again, correlations, covariance tools, and if you're looking like for like actual hedges and whatnot, that's not going to really be had on the lower term timeframes if that's how you're looking at these things. Anyways, let's go check out gold as well. Or sorry, I should also offer up an invalidation point for this one too. Below 228 is where it actually get bearish once again for continuation of the downside to retest the prior lows and go beyond, and ultimately probably try another bottom somewhere right around like 215-ish region perhaps. But I don't think that that's what's happening here either. I think that most markets are looking for bouncies. Looking at gold very powerful. Okay, so I'm phenomenally wrong on gold yesterday. Holy shit, I feel so feel pretty shitty about that one, to be quite honest with you. Gold shattering the 21 exponential moving average, which I did say we were likely to test, but I was looking for a rejection right there. Good thing I don't trade this, because I would have been absolutely wrecked trading that one. But overall, I do think that it's probably going to pop back down a little bit, down towards a little bit below 1600, like 1585, 1590-ish region, and then I look for another try higher. I do think that this one is still in the process. I really want to see how the weekly closes. If the weekly closes above all major moving averages, I will be bullish for a move back up to the prior high at 1700-ish region and beyond. For right now, we do have major hidden bullish divergence. I think that's probably mostly played out, at least the easy part for that. And then the monthly closing relatively soon. If the monthly closes like this, that's bullish as fuck. Same thing for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin closes the monthly like this, I more or less like that. If Bitcoin closes the monthly above 7350, the 21 exponential moving average, I'm very bullish. I mean, that used to be the key for what I used to use in equities when I was a market maker, authorized trader, to judge if the long-term trajectory, if we're generally bullish, generally bearish, and it seems to work quite well for Bitcoin as well. And right now we're obviously below it, but with another 6 days to go in 15 hours, a lot can change there. So it's within the cards, it's within the realm of reason, but still a little bit more time to go. Okay, all right. What else do you want to look at? I do want to say this as well. While SPY and Bitcoin and gold, well, maybe not gold. Gold actually does looks like it could continue up here quite a bit. Or at least it has potential. With SPY, traditional markets, and Bitcoin, I am still very apprehensive that the bottom is in. I do think that we have short-term, medium-term bottoms in, but I don't think that we have a strong cycle low in just yet. On traditional markets, I think that targeted move back up to like 265, 270 region is pretty reasonable over the next week or two. We do have massive bullish divergence coming off the low right here, but as I've been saying for Bitcoin, in the most basic of basic senses, we've never put in a major market cycle low or even like a major low without bullish divergence on at the very least a daily, and we just don't have that right now. It will very likely be forming on the next drive that Bitcoin has down. So we probably are very, very close to getting there. But just going back right on over here before this $4,000 rally, there was 1-2 stabs of major bullish divergence. Going back on over here before this $3,000 rally, again, not even a market cycle low, 3 drives of bullish divergence coming off the lows. Going back to our last cycle low, we have 3 drives of very strong bullish divergence running over here at 3,100. During 2018, during this whole downwards market, before all of these major rallies up, these failed rallies, of course, but major rallies nonetheless, we did have at least two to 3 drives of bullish divergence on them all as well. Except for the actual spike low at 6,000, but interesting actually, quite interesting. Or did we? No, yes we did. Yes, we did. Okay, it's just very, 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 very light there. And it also works for the downside as well, with bearish divergence. But going back to 2014, 2015, some nice bullish divergence coming off this low right here. Right here as well before this pump up, and right here before this pump up as well on that on that bull trap, and then back on over here, small but present, and then a few times in 2010 and 2011 before that as well. So I am still skeptical that the ultimate low is in, but I do think that Bitcoin has short-term upside. Tentatively speaking, I think that we probably play out this rising channel formation and probably test the top side of it. Maybe even spend some time at the top side, somewhere right around 7250 to 7350. But after that, I would be very, 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 very defensive. Again, granted the underlying market dynamics with specific interest in the open interest right on over here, which actually just went down a little bit again. Well, it's actually more or less flat still. Bitcoin moves up here, again, volume steadily declining, volatility steadily declining, and price action steadily moving up, that is cause for concern, I do think. Okay, what else do we want to talk about while we're here? Do we want to look at some of the top shitcoins? I mean, massively cool altcoins that are definitely the way of the future. And what? They don't look nearly as good as Bitcoin, actually. Mr. Beaterall, for example, in a clear bear flag formation, looks like it probably wants to test up to like 150, 154, 155 region, somewhere around the 21. But death cross with all major moving averages angled pretty aggressively to the downside, or at least getting down there. Does make me apprehensive. Here is a good word. Apprehensive is a very good word, actually. Let's maybe go down to a 4 hour. Lower term time frames look good for continuation. I think it's going to retest this high at the very least at 146 and a quarter. And I think Litecoin's very similar on this one as well. Yeah, it looks like the same chart. You can almost just draw the lines in there and see that there's a nice rising channel in there. So what do we have on the daily as well? 21 looming overhead. Death cross actually much more aggressive here as well. But short term, I do think that it has some upside. What about Monero? Do we really need to go through all these? It's the same fucking thing. Same thing. Hey, same thing. It's the same goddamn thing. Whatever Bitcoin does, 99% of the market's going to do as well. Ripple me nipples, 17 and 3/4 probably. Let's go over and check out Link. Link and Tezos are the ones that have seemed to sometimes do something different than Bitcoin on the macro. So we do see something different than Bitcoin here on the macro. Actually, we have clear bullish divergence coming off the lows. We actually even have a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders here too. And I do think that we probably do end up testing somewhere around about 260-ish region at the very least. If we can close, or sorry, not we, but if Link can close daily dollars back above 260-ish region, I do think that you will see that move extended all the way up to above $3 again. And this one, from a longer term time frame perspective, is still okay. Could this just be another higher low on the weekly? I think that has to be my main idea on this, because this one has given us really no reason to think that it's not. I mean, it's still at this price point, it's still actually making higher lows. On a weekly, there's major hidden bullish divergence here. We even have a nice trend line forming here as well. I mean, fucking hell, man. Why? I talk so good about Link so often, and I literally don't even own a single one of it. I don't own any alt, come to think of it, but damn, man, this one is powerful, very powerful BULLAHS here. Looking at the daily, yeah, more or less looking for this to get another stab to the upside, and then we'll come back somewhat in line with Bitcoin as well. What about Tezos? What is it? XTZ USD on, I think, HitBTC. Funnily enough, HitBTC has the most price action history for this one. Very similar chart to Link as well. Notice the bullish divergence coming off the low. We just don't see that on many of the other majors in cryptocurrency land. This one's just got the wicks from hell because we're on HitBTC, which is the exchange from hell. It's like Ether Delta, but even just as bad. It's just as bad, actually. They're all fucking bad. Actually, pretty much all exchanges are bad here, but I do think that there's some more upside here as well. Probably back up towards 216, maybe even 2.25. Now, longer term, it's not as healthy as Link, to be fair, because it doesn't have that same long term uptrend structure. But in the short term, does look like it wants a little bit more in line with Link. So what else should we check out? Maybe a little bit of let's go check out what Germany's doing. DAX playing out a nice bounce as well. I think it's probably going to work its way back up to 10.8. Again, I'm not necessarily convinced that maybe the low is in just yet, but do you think that we have some upside here? What about Japan? Same thing. Very, 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 very similar. I think that is probably going to get extended towards 2700, 2800-ish region overall over the next month or two. Let's see, what about dollar yen? Some forex here. Oh wow, powerful dollars, extremely powerful dollars. I think that's very, 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 very likely to break this area 111.5, and that should initiate a move back up to our prior highs right around 113.75. Really, really like the dollar pairings actually. Euro dollar should be going to the fucking floor, and yes, indeed it is. And I would be looking for lower prices overall. I do think that this one is headed down towards 106 to 105.5 overall, and then we'll try another bottom there. but that's going to take some time to play out. What about pound yen? I haven't looked at this one in a while. Man, this chart is just a fucking monstrosity. I don't have a strong opinion here. I think it probably does bounce up a little bit more. This one pumps and dumps pretty hard, like maybe 135.5. But longer term, I mean, it's long-term redistribution. It looks like absolute dog shit. But short term probably does have a little bit of upside here. What else we want to check out? Euro? No, we already looked at euro dollar. I think that's about it. I think this video is going to be a little bit on the shorter side at 40 minutes long. We'll go back to the lower term timeframes right here. And I'm just making sure that my microphone actually is working right now. And yes, we have recorded this whole video. That's great. Technically speaking, I'd want to see a close above 6,800, but I do think that I think it's quite likely to see here. Still have to wait another 2 hours and 45 minutes for this. I think the 2 hour is closing in 45 minutes and 54 seconds. So by the time that this video is fully posted, we will have clarity on the situation, whether we've closed on higher highs or not. I think it's quite likely that we do. And that should initiate our next move into the low 7,000s, 7250 to 7350ish region, over the coming days. And that's where I'd look for the next major piece of price action to likely come about, and for fun times to perhaps ensue once again. So with all of that said, I am cautiously bullish as long as Bitcoin is above the $6,400 pivot right here. If Bitcoin does break it to the downside, or if Bitcoin even like spikes up here and then closes a 2 hour or 4 hour dildo back below, let's call it like 6,700, then we likely will have a fake out to the upside and move all the way back down, ultimately back down towards 5,900, which will probably play out another small bounce there, and then sell into that and then fill the measure move on this rising channel. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think what's happening is we're going to see continuation up to this blue box. That should be the next big test. Could it be that Bitcoin exceeds it? Yes, absolutely. And that would tell us that something massively new is going on with the market. If Bitcoin does start to close, especially, higher timeframes like dailies, 2 days, 3 days, above 7,300, 7,400-ish region, I do believe that we will see extension all the way up to upper 7,000, 7,900 to 8,000 bucks. At that point, the monthly is going to be looking significantly different. So we will have something completely new to look at. But for right now, I think that's going to likely take us on to the rest of the day. And like I said, I will be back on Twitch later today. Might even be playing a new game. I'm really looking at, or I've been having so much fun with Total War Warhammer 2. Fucking phenomenal game. Holy shit. Come nerd out with me because it's great to look at price action and also play and also play some games and just shoot the shit a little bit. Other than that, I'm gonna be signing off right here. I want to wish you well once again. Take care, and until next time.